Hey beautifuls, it's Hannah from Reality Awareness, an intuitive healer and life purpose mentor. So welcome to my live stream today. I am talking about addictions and recovery. I felt really called to talk about this morning. Well, it kind of dropped in, the message intuitively dropped in this morning, and then I was in my private groups, Trust the Intuition group this morning, and I kind of mentioned it, and a few students were like, yes, please talk about that. So I was like, okay, there's the confirmation. So I felt really called to talk about it. So that's what I am talking about today. Let me just share this, because I did psychic readings the other day and I forgot to share my live stream. That was a little bit silly of me. I just was getting in the flow and I just forgot. So give me a moment and I'm going to share this now. This live stream on addictions and recovery, because it feels very significant to talk about today. I kind of have no idea why, but I trust when I'm intuitively called to do something. And I was thinking, tuning into it just before I jumped on live stream, and I was like, you know what? I have a feeling there's going to be a really powerful message about to come out today, because this isn't a very common, well, it is a very common thing, but it's not something that I really have spoken about a lot, ultimately. So let me just share this. Awesome. It has been shared. Okay. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to see if some people enjoy it live. And even when I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk about that today. And then I started getting more information about it. And I was like, yep, well, that makes sense. And that makes sense. And that makes sense. And then I also saw a friend post something on Facebook today. And I was like, and it's not very often that I see this stuff in my feed. From Michelle Lightworker, actually. Now, let me just find it. I'm just stalking her page. Because I saw... Where was it? It was something about... okay. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes complete sense, right? About addiction, about recovery, about everything. And the thing that I really want to say about addiction is, as you guys probably know, right, a couple of things. Number one is that addiction stops us feeling pain. Addiction numbs us to pain, right? Smoking, drinking, overeating, working too much, like workaholics, keeping busy, anything, too much sex. Yes, it's possible to be, a sex addict, right? Anything can become an addiction, yeah? And addictions simply numb pain, right? And what they also do in that is they disconnect us from feeling. So the main reason we turn to an addiction, whatever addiction that is, there's no judgment on what your addiction is, but the addiction is covering up pain at its core. Very simple, right? That's at its core, that is what an addiction does. Now, the other thing about that is that they cover up pain and they disconnect us from feeling. And in that, if you follow me, you see and hear me talk about all the time that, in our head, we're cut off and we're disconnected from what our heart's feeling, right? So addiction does the same thing. We might be feeling pain, but in our society, it's not normal to feel sad, right? Everyone expects you to be happy. Go to school, go to uni, get a job, buy a house, settle down, get married, have kids, do the whole, the whole picket fence thing, right? Yeah, maybe back in the day. This is 2018, heading into 2030, where technology is going to take another massive leap and bound. We're just going to go, whoa, what's an iPhone? Or something like that, right? The point that I'm saying is that what I'm passionate about teaching is to feel authentically what's in our heart, right? To consciously feel what's in our heart so we're not disconnected from our feelings, so we are authentic, so we can be real and true to ourselves and follow our heart's calling, right? Now, with addictions, like I said, it covers up the pain and it numbs us and it disconnects us. So if you can look at your addiction, right, if you're struggling with an addiction, like I said, it could be anything can become an addiction, right? And all it is doing is supporting us in us not feeling our pain. So it might have gone through a relationship breakup, there's been a divorce, or maybe you've moved house, or there's a career change or something. And if you haven't felt that grief in your heart, you will be in some sort of avoidance to feel that pain, and you will do anything to not feel that pain, right? And this could lead so far into like illness as well, because, you know, when, like I say, when we disconnect from our body, right? So there's pain, so we want to numb it, and so we turn to an addiction, right, to numb it. But then we also disconnect from the pain, so we're disconnected from our feelings and our body. And then we get sick, like I say, if you follow me, you'll know this stuff. Your sickness, right, your physical illness in your body, wherever that is like saying, hey, are you going to pay attention to me? Wake up, right? It's saying, hey, I'm hurting here. Are you going to pay attention? You'll be like, oh, no, I'll just take a pill, or let's go to the doctor and get somebody to fix that. I'm not going to listen, right? So with that sense of knowing that addictions cover up pain, we can look at our addiction, and when we start to catch ourselves in our addiction, right, we can go, oh yeah, I want to avoid feeling that hurt from a relationship breakup, or I want to avoid feeling the pain of being lonely, or I want to avoid the pain of whatever it is. Now, the more that we look at addictions as a bad thing, the more it's going to kind of make it worse, right? So whatever you're trying to push away will amplify, right? Whatever we're focusing on will amplify. We know this. Now, when we look at addictions as a sense of, we know that they're just helping us to numb the pain, we can go, okay, because you know in yourself, if you've ever tried to give up any sort of addiction, right, there's feelings that come up, right? You try to quit smoking or drinking or leave a toxic relationship, or like there's uncomfortable feelings that come up because you don't have something to cover it up with. It's very, very common for people to leave one addiction and jump to another addiction. Yeah, I left my high risk drug taking, weed smoking everyday lifestyle and jumped into spirituality, and spirituality became an addiction for me. And then I woke up from that as well in 2013, I think it was. I had a big fall again, had a big wake up again. So like I said, anything can become an addiction. But hey Tabitha, when we look at our addiction is, you know, and see it, that it's in a way, it's supporting us in covering up a lot of pain. When we can see it for that and look at it like that, we come to our addiction with a different set of eyes. We come to it not from here and harshness and judgment. We come from here and compassion and going, oh my God, addiction, you've actually been helping me all this time, covering up so much pain that I just don't want to feel. Pain from relationships with family, pain from relationships with moving, or moving house, pain from relationships for exes that you haven't grieved about, so much pain. And if you really look at any addiction, like I said, underneath it will be a ton of pain that you just haven't dealt with. Because addictions numb the pain and they disconnect us from our physical body. So we're out of our body, right? That's why exercise, that's why, looking after yourself and self-care, gets into a space of where, like, yeah, okay, recovering from my addiction, and you might be going to 12-step programs, or you might be, you know, joining support groups, and you might be doing interpersonal development work, and you're like really doing the effing work, right? Amazing. Yes, this is what we need to do. Yet we also need to be aware that as we start doing this, pain, like we're releasing our addiction, pain's going to surface. Okay, we must have the support in place and the awareness to go, yeah, it is covering up a bucket load of pain actually, and yeah, it's going to be absolutely hard, and yep, I'm going to want to go back to that support mechanism, i.e. my addiction, or ACCA, also known as my addiction, because there's so much pain there and I don't know what to do with that, because our society is brought up with feeling uncomfortable feelings, i.e. sadness, anger, grief, whatever, is not okay. Yeah? How many times as a child were you told to stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about? How many times as a child were you told, like, don't do that because I don't approve of you, you need to act this certain way, stop being loud, stop being you, basically. So you shut this down, and then you're like, oh, I better do that. So we step into people-pleasing roles, and then there's pain because we feel rejected in that part of ourselves for being that part of ourselves, but we bury that, so we've got our approval from our main caregivers, which when we're a child, that's our survival mechanism. So when we start releasing these addictions, it can be very deep. And it's really important that you have the support in place, and not just like, you know, and I say this about, you know, going to a support group, not all support groups will resonate with you, you know, and there's a couple of things that I wrote down because I wanted to really talk, you know, about so many things about addiction. I mean, we could have 3 days of pure conversation about this, right? There's so much to say. Hey, Dawn. And, you know, with this sense of, you know, if you, like, go, like, okay, what am I saying here? I'm saying trust every single ounce of support in your addiction recovery that comes your way. Trust every single avenue. Try every single different avenue, because you will find that all these different things, one of them will stick. And it might not just be one of them. It might be a little bit from this one and a little bit from that one and a little bit from that one. It doesn't have to be one way. They'll probably all have a very similar message, but don't get stuck on like this one way. And, you know, if you go along and it feels really good and then all of a sudden doesn't feel good, don't just go, oh, this shit doesn't work. Find a different group. Find, you know, because as you go along in your recovery, you're going to grow spiritually, right? You're going to change. You're going to wake up. You're going to feel different pain that you haven't felt before. You're going to go through all these things. And what's going to happen with that is, yes, you're going to grow, but what's also happening with that is your resonance, your vibration is changing. And those people who used to feel good around you don't feel good anymore. And you need to trust that. And you need to find where other people resonate with you. So don't get stuck. Hey, Perla. Don't get stuck in one way, right? So there's a few of you watching me on live stream before who has struggled with an addiction before or is currently struggling with addiction. You can just give me some love hearts. If you don't want to comment, that's fine. Putting my hand up because relationship addiction's been really big for me. Sex addiction's been big for me. Drugs used to be. Yep, you, Tabitha. So, you know, and then people could say that I've got a work addiction, but, thanks, Perla. Yeah, you, Tabitha. Yeah, so you know, and ultimately, everybody's got an addiction, right? AA saved my life. Yeah. So, you know, those groups are really supportive, right? Like, I've got the AA book here. Oh, I grabbed I grabbed a couple of books that called to me to join this live stream today. Felt really cool to talk about this. So One Day at a Time. This is an Al-Anon book here, right? Oh, where did I just open up to? Let's see. Okay. So wanted to talk about this, right? So if you just joined me, I highly recommend watching the start of this live stream. So I did say that addiction breaking it down simply, but nothing simple about addiction. But if you can remember that addiction is supporting you because there's so much pain that you don't want to feel, and it's numbing you to the pain. It was your survival mechanism back whenever, for your entire life, that's up until this point or up until you started recovery, right? It was and is a companion, and you can still look at it like that, in a sense that your addiction shows you how connected you are to yourself or how disconnected you are to yourself. Yeah? Because if our addiction is supporting us or had supported us in covering up so much pain and hurt, and it was a survival mechanism when we were growing up as kids to help bury the pain and the pain of feeling that way, when we can see now in our recovery, when we start going into that addiction, we're like, oh, okay, there's more pain here that I don't want to feel. It could be about your career, like you could have like current pain, right? So if we look at a current reality now and why we would go back to an addiction, or why we kind of veer off and go into our addictions again, or go off path, or sabotage, if you like to say, is that there's probably some sort of pain in your current reality today that you're not wanting to face or feel. Now, it could be like, I don't know, a neighbor said something to you or heard it through the grapevine, or it could be that you don't know where you're going to earn the money to come in to help pay your bills this month, or it could be that you're having problems with a family member. It could be that, someone nearly cut you off on the street and almost had an accident and you almost died, and there's this like pain and you're like, oh, I just need to stop, don't want to feel that, right? Whatever, if you find yourself on days where you're feeling like you want to go into your addiction, then, have a look and go, okay, actually what happened today? What happened yesterday? What happened in the past week of pain that I don't want to feel? And what you can learn to love your addiction for is showing you where you're authentically feeling or you're not authentically feeling. Because remember, when we authentically feel, it's not about, oh, we're sitting in the negativity and we're going to attract all these bad vibrations and situations to us because we're manifesting that. No. Remember, when we push it away, when we numb with these addictions and numb the pain, that's when we manifest the shit, because it's sitting there and it's trying to wake us up. Hello, wake up. Boom. That's when shit happens and we're like, why is this happening again? FML, right? Because we're not authentically feeling. But when we can catch our addiction and go, wow, thank you for showing me what I don't want to face and feel, right? When I said at the start of this live stream, and I got the intuitive message this morning to do the do this live stream today on addictions and recovery, I was like, oh, okay. And, and I trusted, and then I said in my private group that I would, and people were like, yes, please talk about that. And then on my feed, Michelle's post came up, and I was like, oh, this makes total sense, right? Michelle posted, I don't usually see her stuff on my feed, but I saw it was meant to be. The dark forces work with an energy of disconnection, right? So we talk about demons, angel, dark entities, curses, blah, 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 right? They work with an energy of disconnection. So remember when I said when we numb ourselves with our addiction, we're disconnecting from the pain. We don't want to feel, so we cut ourselves off and we live in our head, and when we go round and round and obsess about things, and that's when we want to feel more addiction. We get into addiction, we're obsessing about it and da-da-da-da-da, right? Because we don't want to feel the pain. So we're staying here because it's not as painful as being here and authentically feeling. So the dark forces work with an energy of disconnection. When setting a boundary, always ask yourself if you are setting it to reconnect with your heart, your higher self, or your self-care. These intentions operate on the frequency of reconnection. So when we say no to that catch up with that person because you want to take care of yourself and reconnect self-care wise, then you're going to come back into the heart space. You can authentically feel what's going on rather than going, yes, and then burying that pain down more, and then we walk around and in complete disconnect. She said, setting boundaries from the space of I'm better than you in any way builds an internal dark force. So step out of disconnection and into reconnection, and you build the light within. So again, addictions are there to numb the pain, yeah, but they disconnect us from our body. They disconnect us from what's in our heart. So when you feel hurt by something, it's really important to acknowledge it. That really hurt me, what you said, right? And you don't even have to say it to that person, but you can be like, I'm really hurt by what they said. And the other point that I want to point to here, and this when I just opened that book, then I'm like, oh, what did I open to? It says here, this little paragraph is jumping out. Prayer is simply a reaching out to make contact with a power greater than ourselves. It is an acknowledgement of our personal helplessness, which has been demonstrated to us so often in our efforts to find peace and security. So what if it's not about pain? So can you share a little bit more what you mean there? Because I'm really curious. For me personally, when I look at the depths and the spiritual understanding, any addiction is to cover up some sort of pain, or the pain of rejection, and this is what I was going to jump into as well. Underneath all pain is that rejection of, in some way, shape or form, from some aspect of your being, and at that core is self-worth. When you do not feel good about yourself, when you have a low self-worth, everything is on top of that. Everything, feeling rejected, under that, not good enough. Feeling left out from the crowd, under that, I'm not good enough. You know, all of that. What if you just like and want to be out of the perception of one of the realities for a moment? See, that's a little bit of a fine line there. So, you know, what's classed as an addiction? An addiction would be something that you're not able to stop. Yeah? And this is the thing here when we say, it is an acknowledgement of our personal helplessness, which has been demonstrated to us so often in our efforts to find peace and security. So when we're asking, you know, for help, it's in that sense that we don't have control, because the other message that I wrote down is your recovery is not linear. Your recovery is not a straight line. It's not, if you tick these boxes and dot the I's and cross the T's, you are fixed. It's so not that, right? So, you know, and I'm curious, like, are you talking about marijuana, Perla? Are you talking about a different drug? Are you talking about alcohol? Are you talking about something else? Sex, you know, like these sort of things, you know, and want to just get out of the reality for a moment, you know, like having, you know, like ayahuasca or something like that, you know, in sacred ceremony is very different to, you know, going to a rave and, you know, getting high every single weekend, which is what I used to do, right? Because I had a lot of pain that I wasn't acknowledging, like it just wasn't even in my awareness, you know, and this is the thing of, you know, wanting to escape, right? And I think I did share, I said this is living. I spoke about it in my group this morning. I'm like, where did I say that? Because at the festival on the weekend, right? So you're talking about alcohol. So, you know, like, it depends, you know, like what class is an alcoholic, right? You know, if you want to have, you know, if you want to have a drink every day, how much is too much every day? How much, you know, where's your limit? You know, like, can you stop for several weeks if you wanted to, you know, like, or do you have to have a drink every single day, every single weekend, right? You know, is that, you know, where do you class yourself as that alcoholic? Yeah, escape, exactly. So I almost, and I shared this in my group today, I'll probably write a blog on it. You know, going to the festival last weekend, I didn't want to be there. I honestly, it wasn't like, oh my God, I need to get out of here, I want to go work. It was just like, wow, what an interesting experience. I'm like, why aren't I excited to be here? Why aren't I, yes, let's do this? Because I used to be the fucking person partying the hardest, right? Even when I wasn't taking drugs, I still love going to those places, right? And the thing is, in that sense of like, when I was at the festival and I'm like, what, you know, I was present, I was very present, but I was very aware. And the thing that kind of irked me, or it actually made me really fucking just want to cry for humanity. And I used to be that person, you know, these people, right? I used to get off my face every weekend, like completely. I'd stay awake for the whole weekend, like for days. I would be awake, right? Yeah, you change now. But the point that I'm saying is that I realized I was excited to come home and get back to work. And my work is obviously what you see me doing now. I've created a life that I don't need to escape from anymore. And I do have a new sense of my life, but I've created this. I didn't want to be in unhappiness. I have created a life of freedom. I've created a business that I can work from anywhere in the world. I have literally done the work and created a life that I don't need to escape from. And back when I used to love the festivals to no end, and I went there purposely to get off my head. I loved the music, but I also loved the drug taking at the time, right? I loved it. And everyone else was doing it too. And it was like this one big happy family. I always felt really sick this weekend being there around people that were just completely wanting to disconnect. And that's where I felt sad. That's where I felt the most pain, because I was just like, oh, like I wanted to cry for humanity, because most of the world does live in a reality where work and life sucks and they need that weekend escape. Like our society has been growing up, where our society has been trained to be this way, so that the highest of highest people have the power and control, and everyone is on the wheel, the hamster wheel, right? So I guess, you know, when I'm saying, you know, when you're saying that every weekend, Perla, it's kind of like, well, what would you be doing with your time if you weren't working, if you weren't having to be in a job for money? If money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing with your life every single day, right? I still love a glass of wine. Like I do. And sometimes I have a glass of wine every night, and then some weeks I go without for weeks without any alcohol. So it's kind of like I don't need that, but I also know when I'm needing it more, when I'm like, oh, I feel like I need that. I know I'm covering up pain. I'm very conscious of it. Like I'll go down and get just one beer because I'm just wanting that thing, sort of thing, right? And it's having that awareness of like, oh, what am I actually feeling in my heart? Is there something that I'm wanting to cover up right now? And when you can have that authentic awareness, you usually don't need as much of this, right? You don't need as much, because you are, one, acknowledging the pain. First step in healing is awareness, right? You might still be doing this, but you're conscious of it, and then you realize you don't actually need as much, right? Happy traveling around the world. So how can you create that? Yeah? This is life purpose stuff. Hey, Rena. Okay, Tabitha says, that's what rattles me up when somebody says they are fully recovered. How can we say that? Exactly. So I do believe in a sense that you can get to a point, and I don't know if it's like, well, I'm fixed now, I'm fully recovered now. Because I honestly do not believe that anybody is perfect. And you might have a food addiction or alcohol addiction or something like that. And depending on your recovery and that, you know, like you might still, you still drop into it every now and again. And like I said, when you can catch your addiction and you learn to understand that your addiction is just covering up pain, it's numbing the pain that you feel about something that's gone on in your life. And in your current day reality, when you assess what's going on right now in your reality, like if you like, write a list, like if you're in a really bad place, right, you write a list of 10 things that you hate about your life right now. And then you kind of ask yourself, well, why? how did I get to this space? This is not about beating yourself up more, by the way. This is about unpacking the shit that's going on right now, because this shit that's going on right now is what is kind of being fueled or feels really like worse because of what's sitting here underneath, right? So when we go into our addictions, it's like I said, it's covering up pain. When you understand that, you can go, okay, actually, I'm feeling really sad in my heart. I'm feeling pain in my heart. So what is that about? When you start acknowledging it, you don't start being here and obsessing about all this stuff and doing your addiction because you're disconnected from the pain, when you can actually go, oh, I'm doing it again. What pain am I covering up? And just listen and just sit with it. You might feel angry. You might feel like you need to cry. Good way to release anger, by the way, I got asked the other day, is, pushing on a door frame in your house. So you could push on a door frame really hard, or a boxing class at the gym, or screaming in your pillow. Usually end up crying after that. So how can we says they are fully recovered. How can we say that? No such thing. It's maintenance to make self-care. Make sure you keep up self-care and kept to not allow the coping mechanism to come in aka addiction. Yeah. So yeah, and with that thing, it is that sense of, like I said, and I do believe, Tabitha, I do believe that we can get to a point where we catch our addiction before we go into it. We'd be like, ooh, okay, yeah, cool, pain. Yeah, I'm going to say no to that person, going to go get a massage and fully take care of myself. Because it's always there. And when we look at the truth of addictions as well, so obviously I've just released the Life Purpose Mentorship. The doors are open for that. There's only 1 week at $47 a month right now, by the way. So only 1 week, and then it jumps up to $97. Grandfathered price, which means if you get in on $47 now, there's no price increases for you as long as your membership stays active. And the reason I'm talking about life purpose is because our addictions keep us numb, right? Like I said, our addictions are covering up pain that we don't want to feel, so they keep us numb, so we disconnect from our body, so we disconnect from the pain that's sitting in our body, in our heart, usually. And by doing that, we're not only squashing the pain, we're squashing our authentic truth. We're squashing who we really are. And when we're who we really are, our life purpose unfolds because we're not numbing it. Because when we can be comfortable with our pain as much as our joy, we can master anything. And we can train ourselves to be the masters of our thoughts and feelings. We have no control over anything, but we can control what we choose to think. Notice I said choose to think, right? We can catch ourselves in a darkwood spiral and then we go, oh, actually, I'm choosing to not think like that anymore. I'm choosing ease and flow and everything. I'm choosing to be happy. I'm choosing to find my happiness. I'm choosing a lighter path right now. I have had enough of that dark shit, and I am choosing this new life of joy, happiness, following my heart, authentically feeling my pain, and choosing to awaken my life purpose. Because when we cover up with our addiction, it's just numbing pain, and when we can learn to be comfortable and hold ourselves in our pain, it shows us alignment, right? Because like I said, under that pain usually is some part of rejection. Because when we're a child, stop crying, or give you something to cry about. Stop being too noisy, you're having too much fun, basically, right? Shh, stop laughing so much, too loud, right? Being who you are got shut down. You shut that down because your parents' word is your survival mechanism. You could be rejected out of the house, probably wouldn't happen, but that's what the reality is on the brain chemistry, and the way that we're wired is that we have to fit in for our survival when we're a child. But you see, today we're adults, and we are in 2018. We're not going to be kicked out on the street. Well, maybe we are, but we can easily find our way back rather than, get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger because we're not part of the tribe. Does that make sense? but our brain is still wired this way. So when we look at what pain is being covered up, it could be it could be so many things, right? But if you look underneath all of it, is that you shut down and rejected a part of yourself because it wasn't approved by somebody outside of you at its core every single time. And so because of that, I'm not good enough to show all of who I am. So I'm going to shut that down so I can be good enough and fit in, to be accepted, to be loved. So in my Trust to Intuition course, which the doors are opening mid-year, Trust to Intuition is based in the solar plexus, which is where your personal power is, which is where your self-worth is, which is where the belief in yourself, the trust in yourself, and the not being affected by other people's opinions. Because it's the number one thing that keeps us stuck in patterns, is listening to other people's opinions and voices outside of ourselves. That's not who we really are. Just because they didn't approve of it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. Just because they said something about your life doesn't mean that you have to stop doing and living your life when it feels right for you. Underneath every single addiction, right at its core, is a part of you that doesn't feel good enough. And when you can reach in and grab that part of you that feels good enough and pull it through the not good enough and nurture that, focus on that truth that at your core you are good enough, and that any feelings of not good enough simply is not the truth and don't really exist. When you really think about it, a baby is not born out of a vagina not feeling good enough. A baby is in complete acceptance of who they are. When you can pull that aspect out inside of yourself out and have that at its core and know that that's your natural state of being. And that any feelings that come up of you not being good enough is simply something that somebody has said to you about some aspect of your behavior. Maybe you're laughing too loud, maybe you're, crying, maybe you whatever. Somebody's opinion has told you to stop doing that, and you've gone, oh my God, I better not do that because I'm going to lose them. And that's when we step into that, right? Thanks, Tabitha. Made sure I had my queen energy on. I need my thing on, right? My life purpose energy. Life purpose energy. Life purpose queen. Yeah, my crown. I need my crown. Okay. So right knee. So masculine. Knees are always about moving forward. I'm going to make sure I've covered everything I really wanted to say. Okay, Perla says, but right now I have some things I want to do now and I need to work hard. Yep, exactly. Worked my ass off for 18 months online to create a life of freedom. It's not that I need to work hard to make things happen. It's like success comes to those people who persevere and make it happen. It's not that you fail because you weren't good enough, and you fail because it wasn't meant to be, and you fail because it's not possible. You fail because you fucking gave up. If we create our own reality, the only reality that's stopping you is your own. There is a solution to every single problem, but if you're focusing on the problems and the failures, that's where you're going to stay, right? When you remember that you are that powerful creator, that baby that came out of that womb, that soul came from that infinite space that is you now. You have access to that infinite resources, energy, ideas, possibilities, solutions. It just depends where you're focusing on. Whatever you want to create in your life, do not give up. It's a very, very simple recipe for success, is just don't give up until you make it happen. Very, very, very simple, very clear. Okay, let me just check. I just didn't check this right knee. Tabitha. I see your comment, Cass. I'm going to get to that in a second. From the person are from, right? I think we have to take the words from the person are from. We are from? What do you mean by that? I'm needing more clarity about that. Okay, knee is... Pretty sure it's about moving forward, but I think the masculine... Okay, so right knee is issues with a significant male in your life, father, brother, uncle, and so on. Difficulty moving forward in your career. Limited thinking, fear of failure. I was just talking about that. Asking yourself, where am I inflexible in life? So I just wanted to... I think I already said it, right? Our recovery is not linear. Every single thing has a purpose when we look for it, and when we become aware that our addiction is helping, supporting, protecting us, what it has done all this time, we can go, I really love you, addiction. I don't need you anymore because I realize you were just helping me you were protecting me from all the pain that I was holding in my heart. I'm grateful when you show yourself to me again and show me that I've got more pain to unpack. And I'm ready to authentically do this right now. So thank you for showing me that there's a little bit more. Thank you for showing there's a little bit more. And you'll get further and further away from that needing that space to show you. You'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling really sad today. I'm going to look after myself today. Rather than just going, okay, I need to bury this, right? It's awareness. Yeah. Got off path or came back with more fire. Right? Like I said, it's not linear. It's not a straight line. We do this, yeah? We might do this for a while, and then the path does get clearer and stronger and straighter, but everything's always moving, right? Yeah, and with that father, like your right knee, I did say that this morning as well about the mother and father meditations. So if you're going to do one tonight, try and do another one by Sunday night perhaps. And then for the rest of the week, just choose one of them to focus on every day, like you were with inner child, and then work on the next one, yeah? And then you can bring all three of them in and have the big family powwow chat, yeah? All right, so, okay, like if the person who says to you not good enough to run and that person never run a race, so it doesn't count. Exactly, never take advice from somebody who has not done what you are trying to do. And anyone who's putting you down, simply. Like they're just exerting their power over you. And that thing, right, that other thing when I was saying, you know, addictions numb the pain and they disconnect us from our body. If you really think about the truth in, you know, say, especially for relationship addiction, we're wanting connection with a person. We don't get it, so it goes toxic because we're trying to get connection from somebody or even anything really to try and fill us up, to try and make us feel whole. And when we can remember that addiction is a process of disconnection and connection, right? When we're in connection to ourselves, we've been taking good care of ourselves, we, you know, doing, you know, everything right, you know, like self-care, getting enough sleep. Self-care is like the epitome of it, ultimately. Feeling good enough and worthy enough to take care of yourself is kind of a really big number one step. And, you know, when we can remember that addictions are about disconnection or connection, it is that same thing. It's like, you know, our addiction showing us that might be pain that we're trying to cover up. And then our addiction is also showing us where our self-care levels are. How connected do I feel to my soul today? How connected do I feel to life? How connected do I feel to my heart? How connected do I feel to everybody? Yeah, because self-care fills us up. When we're feeling empty and depleted, we're not very connected because we can't really connect when we're not full and, you know, focusing on ourselves, and that's when we disconnect and we get out of our head and we're focusing on out here trying to fill us up. It doesn't work, right? So that's when it says here of, you know, when I randomly open up, you know, the AA book, it says, prayer is simply reaching out to make contact with a power greater than ourselves through meditation, you know, whatever connects you. Could be surfing, could be going into nature, it could be yoga, it could be meditating, it could be singing, could be chanting, could be creativity, could be find what your thing is that connects you to your higher power, to your higher self, to your spiritual connection is at its core, right? That's what it's about, feeling connected to your body to your soul? Are you in your body or are you out of your body, right? We want to be in our body. If that means you're authentically feeling pain and you don't know how to do that, then you need to reach out for support to people who understand how to authentically feel, i.e. me, right? I do have a, you know, super special on my one-on-one sessions for March because Ade is going to New Zealand, so I've got more space. So I have released some one-on-one sessions at a very, very discounted price. So please send me a message if you want one-on-one sessions in that regard it's only in March though, so you'll need to get in if that's what you need and want. And are ready. More to the point, I'm really not willing to work with people who are not willing to do the work. So if you're kind of just like, yeah, not sure, but if you're like, yeah, I'm fucking ready, Hannah, then please send me a message, because totally working with people who are just totally ready to do the work. So Cass, when you said, what about people who are numbing themselves out because they are afraid of feeling their true power? So 100%, like it's the same thing, right? Because under that, there is pain associated with power. I was just talking about this in the Life Purpose Mentorship last week, and I actually did a healing from the witch hunts meditation to really heal that abuse of power, right? Because what does power mean to you, right? Or to that person, right? Power might mean pain, yeah? And even feeling connected to the heart might be associated with pain. And that's like going into the beliefs around, you know, what do I believe? What does love mean to me? Well, love means pain. Love means divorce. Love means fighting, you know, like if you're growing up in a not so loving environment, you know, when you're a child, you know, parents always arguing, maybe one's an alcoholic, you know, like there's a lot of pain there. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be in a relationship, like fuck that. You might want a relationship and you get in a relationship, but they're also, you know, these disconnected relationships because you actually don't know what love looks like, or actually what a healthy relationship looks like. So always remember too, when you're dealing with addiction recovery, it's relearning. Again, I'm always talking about this stuff. We're just kind of putting it into addiction and recovery terms today. It is rewiring the brain and how you've known your entire life to be until you've stepped into recovery. So, you know, when you say the people are numbing themselves out because of their power, true power or true connection, same thing. If I'm in my power, and I talk about this in my Trust Your Intuition course, in the Life Purpose Mentorship, there's tools like in the first week to, you know, like heal from your being scared of your power, because being in your power might mean that, you know, in a past or past life, you've abused people in your power. Maybe you've killed people in your power, you know, like being in your power. So like in past life stuff. And that sits in your soul's DNA, in your past life memory field, in the traumas that you've brought over into this life to rework on this lifetime. And what did you say? So because they're afraid of feeling their power. So the other aspect to that is, you know, when we do step into true connection and we feel amazing, or two things come up actually. Do we feel good enough? Do we feel worthy enough to feel good? Right? Because our society is growing up on, you know, most of society, growing up on addiction and pain as being normal, right? Thanks for being here, Tabitha. You're welcome, Perla. You know, and it's that space of, you know, like when you step into your power and you actually feel good, this is the sabotage thing that comes up, right? Again, it's what I'm talking about, Life Purpose Mentorship. It's all sitting there. I've already done these trainings in there around sabotaging, feeling good, sabotaging, you know, it's like that. You get a good relationship or you get a good job and then you sabotage it because at your core, you don't feel good enough. Pretty much everything will stem back to I don't feel good enough on some level, shape or form, right? And again, it's why my first big baby course, Trust Your Intuition, is built on the solar plexus, because we don't trust our intuition because we don't feel good enough. And if we don't, the other aspect to that is being in your power, being intuitive, being psychic, being powerful in that regard means that I'm going to get killed. And I speak about this so many times, right? For, you know, people numb out their psychic abilities or they shut them down because, oh, I don't want to go there again because I'm going to get killed. Because only 200 years ago, we're still getting burnt at the stake for having our psychic abilities. We got called witches, right? Only 200 years ago, that was fuck all, right? So when we look at the entire scale of humanity, 200 years ago isn't very long ago, and we're just starting, you know, like the collective is still really strong in that regard. So we're scared of our power because we don't want to get killed again. So again, in life purpose mentorship and in trust intuition, I've got that in there too, is, you know, processes to help you heal from that trauma of being killed for your gifts in the past. Because if we're going to step into being powerful light workers, we need to own our power and not be scared of it. And it is a natural self-talk that starts, you know, like right now, like, okay, this is 2018. This is not 1746, right? This is 2018. I'm not going to get killed again. I'm protecting you. I'm supporting you. I'm here. Let's do this, right? And then you can do actual, you know, processes, personal development processes to help heal that space in yourself so that you can truly energetically reclaim your power and no sneaky sabotage sneaks in that way. So yeah, I mean, it's very possible. And like I said, addictions cover up pain. Addictions disconnect us from connection. And ultimately, we're always connected. It's just our conscious awareness of the connection. So, you know, and if we're talking really kind of deep energetic terms here, is that when we feel, so, you know, like we're going along really good, and then, you know, all the stuff's in the subconscious. So, you know, that tip of the iceberg picture, right? The classic tip of the iceberg picture, like 10% up here is the iceberg we see of the water. Out of the water, that's our conscious mind, 10%, and our subconscious below the waterline is 90%. So when we kind of look at it, say in our headspace, right, like this top bit is 10%. And what we're working with is this bottom bit, this whole 90%, right? Energetics of our bodies. There's all this stuff sitting in here, and if you're not consciously, authentically connected, tuned in and aware of what's going on and through your heart and all these sorts of bits that come from, you know, clearing your intuition, being, you know, working with your psychic abilities and making yourself super in tune, which is a choice, which does take work in the beginning, and then it comes second nature, and then it becomes your normal life, like, which is what I experience and a lot of people I know experience. That we can catch that. We can go, oh, yeah, cool. I'm going to follow it. Yeah, I can feel something sitting here. Going to tune into that. Going to, you know, do a process on that. And it's exactly why I provide all the tools in Trusted Intuition. There's lots in the Life Purpose Mentorship already as well. So, you know, whether you're healing from, you know, and like I said, addiction is just covering up pain of some sort. When we can be conscious of our pain and authentically tuned into our heart, whether it's good, bad, right, wrong, you know, like obviously in love there's nothing wrong. When we're here and connected to what we're consciously feeling, you know, if we're totally conscious 100% of the time, we wouldn't be in this dimension. So don't think, oh my God, I'm not conscious all the time, well, I'm not good enough, right? And I just looking at my notes here, I wanted to make sure I covered points. The other thing that keeps us in our addiction is comparison, right? Comparing ourselves to other people's journeys, comparing ourselves full stop in any way, shape or form, what they look like, what they sound like, what success they have in their life. And the other kind of pointer in if you are comparing yourself to somebody and don't feel good enough because one, you've got them on a pedestal, or they seem to be more successful than you, or they've got something that you want, always know that that's a calling card. Like, yes, don't compare yourself, but also know that if you're noticing it in somebody else, it's because you can create that in your life and is showing you a direction on your life purpose that gives you little snippets of like, ooh, I want that lifestyle. I want that, right? So then you can start going, how can I create that? How can I do that for me in my authentic truth? What is it that's my heart's calling me to do, right? So, and yeah, and it's always that thing of like, who are you listening to? Are you listening to people outside of yourself? Or are you going to nurture that tiny baby that you once were inside of yourself that is 100% pure love, acceptance of self? Until someone started saying something outside of you, right? Always remember that. Always remember that everything that I say, everything that, you read in a book, everything that you are taught in schools came from first somebody's thought in their mind. Everything that you see on this planet, everything on TV, everything in the, like everything first came from somebody's mind. And remember that you have your own mind too, and it's just as powerful and can create everything that's in this world as well. Because all those thoughts come from the same place. Where do those thoughts come from? Where do thoughts come from? Right? Where does consciousness come from? We all have that consciousness. We all have the ability to tap into that. And when you can really own that truth, you become limitless. And yes, feeling safe in your power is definitely the first number one step for any light worker to work on. Because we don't want to do that because we got killed last time. I'm just going to stay over here and have another drink. Right? So I hope that helps you. I'm going to pull a card from the Archangel deck in relation to our addictions and recovery live stream. So thanks for joining me live, guys, and appreciate your questions. Oh, hey Chanel, I didn't say hello to you. I saw your comment come up and then I was in flow and then I didn't actually acknowledge your comment, I don't think, and I'm so sorry because I love you, Chanel. Paula, could you meet me in person someday? I guess so. I'm going to run retreats around the world shortly. So yes, sure. Events and retreats. How interesting. Clairvoyance. Archangel Raziel. I'm helping you awaken. I'm helping your spiritual sight to awaken so you can clearly see heavenly love. And the bottom card of the deck, as I always look at the bottom card when I'm doing a reading, is peace, right? You're very welcome, Cass. I'm so glad that helped you. Is peace, Archangel Chamuel. And Archangel Chamuel is the life purpose archangel. He does help you get on purpose, yeah? Like, well, he's the life purpose archangel. And the thing is, the more peace you feel, the more on path you are. So yes, you have to put in hard work to create success, in a sense of like nothing's easy, especially if you're doing something that hasn't been created first, right? Now, always refer back to Thomas Edison made over 100 light bulbs before he got the one that worked, right? That would have been frustrating, hard, but he never gave up, yeah? And I'm sure once he did it, it was a hell of a lot like, oh, I always knew that was going to work, right? Because you know deep down, but it doesn't mean that it's not, you're just going to be peaceful all the time, but there's an underlying peace that you know that you're doing the right thing, right? But with this Archangel Raziel, what I was going to say in relation to addictions is, like I said, you know how addictions cover up the pain and they disconnect us from our body? Then with that disconnect, if we're not, and I talk about this all the time in intuitive, psychic awareness, receiving your intuition, if you're not grounded in your body, you're not going to be connected, and our connection is what increases our psychic ability. So yeah, people are scared of their psychic abilities and their power, and that's why they prefer to stay out, because they don't know what to do with that. Plus there's all the past life trauma sitting there that everyone's not even conscious of, right? But with this, it's like, you know, if we're looking at it on this live stream and with Archangel Raziel helping us see the truth of the situation, Archangel Raziel connected to the third eye and being able, you know, clairvoyance, your third eye, seeing the truth in the past, present, future, seeing the big picture, seeing what's really going on rather than addictions are bad and you're bad because you've got addictions and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. You're just probably carrying a bucket load of pain that you've never even looked at before. It's going to be massively scary if you've never gone there before. It's why not many people do personal development work. It's why not many people even look at themselves in that way, because it's painful, right? And we're taught that pain is bad and we're bad because we feel that way, right? Archangel Raziel is here helping you. If you're watching this live stream, Archangel Raziel is helping you to awaken your spiritual sight, yeah, to awaken your gifts, to know that it's okay to feel, and by authentically feeling, you see clearer. You're not clouded by pain. You actually see the truth. You feel the truth. You see the truth. You see the whole picture, not just the pain that happened. Don't have your pain glasses on. Don't have the rose-colored glasses on, right? You can actually see the big picture, And when we learn that our addiction is just helping us to cover up pain, we're like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore because I'm acknowledging how I'm feeling more, I'm being more authentic. That's when we step into our power. That's when we can help change the world by being authentically connected to our heart space and giving others the permission by osmosis to do the same. That it is safe to feel. That we're not going to die by feeling our feelings. Yeah? You did jump in halfway. Thank you for joining me, all of you, live. And if you think this live stream can help somebody, please comment their name below. Please share it in a private message to them. Please tag them. Please share it on your wall if you think it can really help somebody. Because when we really step into feeling authentically, getting safe to feel authentically, that means it gives us courage, it gives us strength, and that helps us to awaken our life purpose because we trust our heart. It's not buried in pain. It's not listening and focusing on other people's opinions and telling us what to do. And that's not right, so don't do that. You're like, I'm hearing you think it's not right, but it's right for me, so I'm going to do that. And then bloom, your life purpose lines up. Yeah? And with the Life Purpose Mentorship, like I said, it's open now. And there's only 1 week at $47. And then it jumps up to $97 next week. And in the 21st of March is the 12, I did that the other time, the 12 divine steps to awakening your life purpose. So that is an online course. There's 12 or probably 13 video trainings in that to awaken your life purpose, 12 divine steps, 12 trainings. And with that, if you're in the Life Purpose Mentorship, that is an absolute free gift that I'm giving you. If you don't want to join the Life Purpose Mentorship, but you want the 12 divine steps to awakening your life purpose, then that is $297 just to do the course. Otherwise, if you're in the Life Purpose Mentorship, there's so much more in the Life Purpose Mentorship, plus the 12 steps to awakening your life purpose. So it's $47 right now. That's a grandfathered rate to get in on. Once it jumps up to $97, as long as your membership stays active at $47, then you won't get any more price increases. So if you've been on the verge or on the edge of thinking about joining the Life Purpose Mentorship, then now is the time to get in. So the $97 kicks into gear next Friday or next Saturday, I think, on the 2nd of March. So if that's a Friday or Saturday. So I will post a link right now in the comments for you for the Life Purpose Mentorship. And there is a little bit of information for you on that link as well about the 12 divine steps to awakening your life purpose. So I'm just going to put only 1 week left at $47 per month. So, and there are some amazing trainings in there right now too. Plus, I just redid the platform last night. It looks fucking amazing. If you saw it on my story, it actually probably still will be there for the next couple of hours on my story on Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. You can check out my story. And it shows you a little sneak peek of what the platform looks like of your membership, and so much stuff is in there, and I'm still uploading stuff to there, so I'm really, really excited to open that. It's my life purpose is to help you awaken your life purpose, and let's all change the world and bring the new earth into reality right now. So whether you've got an online business or whether you want to do something that's not online, or you don't even know what your life purpose is, this is the place for you to be if you know you've got some sort of calling. There's something, I don't know what it is though, or maybe you are very clear and you're like, yes, I need to do this, but how do I do these technical steps, right? Everything is covered in the Life Purpose Mentorship. So I've just shared a link in the comments and I've pinned it to the top so you can check that out. It's only 1 more week left, like I said, and if you think that this can help anybody, like I said, please share it with them. Addictions and recovery are a big step in awakening your life purpose. So people wake up, right? We wake up when we release our addictions and we align with our heart, and our life purpose is birthed, right? So all the details are in that link. Remember, we're keeping it really, really real. Lots of love to you. Namaste.